Now let's bring you the latest on the political crisis in Libya, where eastern and western factions that have divided that country since the end of former President Muammar Gaddafi's rule have now sent separate armored columns towards the deceased leader's hometown of Sirte, which is now in the hands of ISIL militants. Now, General Khalifa Haftar, who heads the troops in the east, has stressed that it would be unthinkable for eastern Libyan forces to join a UN-backed government until militias aligned to it have been disbanded. However, Western powers see Fayyaz Sarraj, the head of the Government of National Accord, as the best hope of unifying political and armed factions to take on the Islamic State militants. A December unity deal was meant to end the divide between the rival governments in the capital Tripoli and in Tobruk, who have vied for control over the country and its oil resources since 2004. Well, let's go back to Cairo now for more on this. This time we're joined by CCTV's Yasser Hakim for some analysis on these latest developments in Libya. Yasser, of course, the big news at the moment is that General Khalifa Haftar is refusing to recognize the UN-backed unity government. How big a blow is this for international peace efforts?
It's a major blow, but it was unexpected. If you understand the situation in Libya, for example, in the capital, in Tripoli, you go there, every few blocks you have a different militia controlling the area. And this is the whole issue with Haftar. Haftar wants to unite them all under the leadership of the army. And that's his only condition for accepting the UN-backed leadership. And right now, what's happening is that Fayyaz Sarraj, when he came to, when he went into the capital, he has taken over some of these militias, such as Fajr Libya or Libya Dawn, which is Islamist-backed militia, which Haftar is opposing the Islamist forces, saying that they are the terrorists. And such militias, in order to stay in power, they have merged with Fayyaz Sarraj, but under a different name. So instead of being called militias, some of them are now called the anti-crime center. Some are called the law-abiding group. And they are like a police to police the area. But the problem is later on they're doing this so that they can have peace of the power. And what Haftar wants to do, and what he says, he claims he wants to do, is that all these militias to be united under one leadership, and this is the army, which he is ahead of. And this is the National Army of Libya, and this should only be the only military force in the country and the only armed force in the country, whereas all militias should be disarmed and merged into one army. And this is the whole situation now. This is why there's a division between Fayyaz Sarraj, who's using the militias to protect the government, and the Khalifa Haftar, a charismatic military man who has the loyalty of the soldiers and the army personnel.
And the challenge, of course, Yasser, is that from afar it's becoming difficult to see the wood from the trees. And the situation, being as murky and complicated as it is. But in terms of the focus on fighting ISIL, what is the key step then that the UN and international backers of the peace deal need to take in order to solidify a step forward in the fight against the ISIL militants?
Now the international community is blamed for part of what's happening in Libya, and they're also, they cannot really be blamed for the divisions within Libya now. Why are they blamed? Because in the first place, when during the overthrow of Muammar Gaddhafi, the former Libyan president, the Western forces sent NATO forces into Libya. They attacked the army itself, which was under the leadership of Muammar Gaddhafi then. The army was disbanded by Western forces, and many of the weapons went into the hands of militias, which are now controlling the country. So that's one point why it's very hard to unite the country, and the West is blamed for that. But now the West cannot really unite those different factions. This is something that the Libyans themselves should work on. Fayyaz Sarraj should find some way or some channel to get the Tobruk the National Assembly and the government and the military force led by Khalifa Haftar to unite with the militias under one cause, which is to fight ISIL and other terrorist groups in Libya. And this will not happen unless the politicians within Libya sit together and try to find some way to unite and form a coalition government. The UN efforts have been ongoing for the last few years, but it has not, and now it means that it will start all over again and try to merge to reach some kind of a solution, because we're back to square one.
Well, political will might be the only way forward then. Yasser Hakim, thanks very much for that analysis live for us there in Cairo.